what retards do.
Oh, soldiers on Commander Sirius. Do you smell that? Accusations in the air. Is there anything better than getting called an aimbot faggot by some PS2 noob? It's like chicken soup for the planetman's soul. Today we're going to talk accusations, when they're harmless venting, and when they become a bit more of a problem.
Yeah, they become a problem when you're friends with a guy who has warped around the game for multiple years and then is banned by the developer for cheating.
See you planet side, soldiers.
Yeah, crazy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what a hacker looks like. You may have seen them before.
That's not the only way a cheater looks like, man.
The most
I hate to tell you.
flying around as
Yeah,
a tank.
some guys fly around, some guys have soft ESP, some guys fucking have low FOV aimbot, some guys net limit or clumsy. There's a lot of people doing that in the game.
As a max. They have
That right there, that is not the only way
clip.
people are cheating.
They have aimbot, they can see through walls.
Yep.
They disrupt the server for a little bit, and then everyone bands together, and it's sort of like a community event.
Yep. Now defend your little shitty, friend. Come on.
Everyone yells mass report, and you hope that Rogue Planet Games gets to it as soon as possible. So this is the end of the spectrum where a accusation is for sure accurate, because they're a hacker. On the way other end of accusations, or where it's pretty obvious the person is not a hacker, and they're probably just calling it out to vent. They're frustrated they lost a fight, so they sling an insult at someone. I think it's supposed to be derogatory, but there is no bigger compliment that I can get than a accusation. Now, over the years, it feels like people have mostly learned the difference between a hacker, someone either blatantly flying around as a max or running
They're the same thing.
a 96% headshot ratio on their LMGs,
Or somebody who's running net limiter or clumsy and manipulating their internet packets. It's the same. They're all cheaters.
and a good player. Accusators have been berated in game, they've been berated on Reddit, they've been berated in videos of mine. So they either accept that they're bad, or they accept that the other person is just really good. But I'm a little concerned because I've seen a new form of accusation.
No, you're concerned because your gay-ass little friend got banned, and you're in DMs with Landwell trying to get him to take his Reddit post down. You
and
shitter.
That is the lag switchusation. This one is even harder to counter. We know pretty well, due to third-party stat sites, what reasonable stats are. And we know what blatant hacks look like. So we can pretty easily figure out if a accusation has any merit. But once you start getting into latency, and if anyone intentionally creates it, that is a much harder thing to pick apart.
I mean, with a guy like that, the way that guy has moved around the game for all these years, it's very different. There's people that lag, which if you've played the game long enough, you know the difference between someone who just has high latency and someone who's manipulating what's going on.
As people shifted away from accusations, just complaining people were laggers, people with high ping became more common. And this is a pretty good one, because a accusation is easily refuted, whereas whether someone has the high ping, you really have no idea. You'd have to be looking at their screen, you'd have to see their connection quality. And sure, there are some very blatant high ping players, but most of the lag accusations I see are really just people complaining about the interpolation and extrapolation of the game. But while I think lag accusations are the same crutch as a hackusation, that is blaming the other person for your loss rather than trying to improve yourself, I want to jump all the way into the more egregious accusation, that is accusing someone of actually intentionally modifying their connection with a lag switch. Now, as we move into this clip, I want to
Doesn't have to be just a lag
make
switch,
sure you take
to be
note
honest.
of my network ping and server latency. It's perfect.
No.
The server isn't stressed out right now. Population is relatively low. I actually live relatively close to the servers, so I always get a very good connection.
You can tell this guy doesn't play any other games and has never, like, the 60 ping is not great.
And a very high bandwidth, low latency internet. So as you watch this clip, understand that my connection is terrific. I've talked about why I think accusations aren't perfectly harmless.
And your connection just being good isn't necessarily like I can have a good connection in Siege, right? I generally have 9 ping in that game, and like most of the games that put servers near Asheville, not North Carolina, Asheville, Virginia, or Ashburn, Virginia, that's like 90 miles away from me. So most East Coast stuff I have about 90 miles between my physical location and the location of the server. So I generally have around 9 to 13, 14 ping to those servers. And even with that said, how the netcode in your game is built and written and the tick rate of the server and all that shit, that's a whole nother like massive part of it.
In a
So
previous
just your ping alone isn't what you ping to a server is not
video,
doesn't really tell
here's
the
a
whole
quick
story.
refresher. If they're mindless venting, no big deal to me. I like yell chat meta.
But when you get my friend banned who I'm defending
More
for some
often, I
reason,
see
then
them
I'm
as
going to
a
make a
crutch and
video
excuse
to my 30,000 subscribers.
to not get better. The person probably has
Yeah. Like, and that's a lot of thing. Like, Birdo has 7 billion clips of these people, and it's weird stuff, man. Like, people run in the door and they walk through walls and shit. It's all the same shit Therum did, and Therum 100% was doing something to his internet connection,
some heavy input latency,
and
from
it
low
looks
performance.
almost exactly the
Moving their
same.
mouse feels like it's stuck in mud. It's hard for them to improve their aim. So when they go up against very talented people, they just assume that that level of performance is impossible, and they hackuzate.
And that level of, if it was lag in and of itself, if that person just had a high ping and stuff, it would somewhat affect their ability to play the game. They would get fucked around corners all the time and stuff, but you don't see that happen to these people.
And there are definitely people that are out there that are totally convinced that hackers are rampant, not only in PlanetSide, but a lot of games.
People have been manipulating their internet connections in this game for almost a decade.
And while they are a real issue, they are not a serious issue in PlanetSide. And the same goes for lag usations and lag switch usations. Speaking of lag switch usations, here's one now. Okay, skillless air-to-ground scrub.
Okay, so take a random tell from a shitter you can, like...
Can't argue with that one. Banshees
Pointless.
are cancer. Hashtag praise rel, they just got nerfed. But here's where they lack knowledge. I was clear inside the fucking spawn lag switch bitch. Now again, if he's strictly harmlessly venting and he doesn't believe that, then it's no problem. But let's watch the tapes again, shall we? Mr. Decoherence here is immobile on his AV mana turret. Very easy prey for a Banshee, even from so far up. He tried to run for the spawn room, but was dead before he got there. Now that's on my screen, but I am seeing an image of him about 250 milliseconds in the past from what he sees on his screen. So the effect on his end is he makes it in the spawn room, he's behind the one-way shield, and he's still taking damage. And since he doesn't understand latency, interpolation, and extrapolation, which he would have if he watched Commander Sirius's video
I'm sure.
linked in the upper right of the screen, which is key knowledge to be successful in
I'm
any
sure.
first-person shooter.
That's why you move like all these people from the West Coast, right? That's why you move like all
Since
these
he
people.
doesn't understand all of that, the fact that he took some damage behind the shield, he thinks it's an issue on my end, even though my connection is perfect. Now, for all we know, he could be running 150 millisecond ping. It's funny, the people that complain about it the most, half the time are the worst offenders. But this becomes the new crux for PlanetSide. Again, when I was talking about accusations previously...
I mean, one of the biggest problems in the game is the network conditions have always been absolutely terrible. And when you let a bunch of people connect to servers across the world, it just makes everything that much worse. I've been complaining for a region lock for this fucking game for 10 years.
I brought up the fact that a lot of people consider them very harmless, but for a while there was this rampant belief that PlanetSide was filled with cheaters. And it's one of those social effects where if something's said a million times, even if it's not true...
Yeah, but the guy that you're trying to defend has like a library of weird clips of him over the years. So it's not like he just fell victim to a witch hunt for that. Like,
true, people start to believe it. And while accusations have mostly been defeated, the lag usations are a bigger thing now, and we're seeing a lot more lag switch usations. And so that same cycle I saw with accusations, where that kind of communal slippery slope began,
slippery slope,
where people in the community start thinking PlanetSide 2 is filled with tons of players that are cheating using a lag switch. This bullshit is very common from Synthesized and other players I won't name yet. And when I see someone say that, what it usually translates to, and everyone that's in Gobs and Recursion and whatever other good outfit wipes the floor with.
Well, they don't wipe the floor with them, because generally you shit on those players, right? But it's always a specific group of specific players, not necessarily just Gobs, but it's always the same people doing the same thing and acting like that. And it's never like normal for them.
With me. I have literally heard that statement from an open platoon leader. Everyone in Gobs uses a lag switch.
Now, obviously, saying that is like, okay, that's maybe probably too much. Okay, but you can't really take that at face value. But it is literally always the same people. It's always a specific people, like Tweeter's saying here in this chat, like to call out Synthesized.
This
yes.
guy goes on to say, net limiting has plagued this game for ages. And the simple fact of the matter is, no, it has not.
Yes, it has.
It has barely been a problem for the game. Are there lag switchers? 100%.
Yep, and there's people running clumsy, and there's people running the fucking net limiters. They have been for 9 fucking years, man.
Yes, we've seen some on very, very rare occasions.
Mm-hmm.
But to go so far as to use the apocalyptic term plagued is a complete mischaracterization.
Yeah, just focus in on the one specific word that he used. Yeah.
Of how significant this problem
yeah.
is.
So go on and defend your little gay friend.
Actually, ironically enough, it happened right in the thread. A Recursion member showed up to support the idea that it sucks to have to play against a player like this with a bad connection. This person, emboldened by the dog whistle in the previous post, thought there was critical mass in the community suggesting that all of Recursion...
Hey, there's
jobs
Birdo.
use
Birdo
net
made an
limiters.
appearance.
In comments that a few years ago would have been buried in downvotes, like saying Gob by far, now gets to rest with 15 upvotes. And the comments continue like this. This is genuinely cheating. You shouldn't be allowed to do this on Emerald, bro. Well, no, it's not genuinely cheating. It's just a player playing from New Zealand.
Okay.
The servers have gotten worse over time, and where they used to be able to get 180 to 200 milliseconds, now they're getting 250 to 300.
Okay, but 300, as someone who has played from Asia, from East Asia, I played for a year from South Korea, and I was 8 kilometers away from North Korea, so basically North Korea. As someone who played from Korea for a year, on Emerald, by the way, there's never, ever situations where someone with normal 200, 300 ping, those players don't walk into walls. They don't do the shit that's linked in these Reddit threads. They don't do that. If that's what you're not getting here.
And we'll work more on the question of, should this be allowed? But that is very different than, this is cheating. It most definitely is not cheating. But we've got 111 people at least that think so. And then further down at that comment, you get people saying stuff like this, where the ignorance train is really getting deep, right? Because they hear...
Well, the truth about it is that there's nothing in the game. There's absolutely nothing in the game that checks, like, inbound and outbound packet manipulation or anything like that. There's nothing. There's never been.
Cheat, so they think anti-cheat software. And yes, there are some software solutions for lag switching, but those are detected by BattleEye. And so now...
And BattleEye is dog shit. You can tell. Look at what BattleEye has done for the game. Look at what BattleEye has done for all these games. There's still, even though these games have BattleEye and easy anti-cheat and all this shit, there's still tons of players running around cheating.
Now that the floodgates have opened, the social engineering is activated. What used to be just a friend's
You can't just say, "Oh, the anti-cheat checks for that."
accusation is now mainstream.
Come on, man.
Now
That's just ignorant. You're just feigning ignorance here.
come out and
Or you're not feigning anything. You're just ignorant.
say, yes, these guys are lag switching. These guys are full on cheating. I got to pause a second because I did like the humor in one of these. The guy states, there is no internet in the world that's so shit it naturally lets you manipulate it to give you an advantage. Now, there's a million things wrong with that statement. And by the way, that's not Funky Town's statement. He's quoting someone. But I like that we pointed out that people have been watching YouTubers with really shitty internet connections for a very long time.
Yeah, but they don't do in-game, third person, they don't do what these specific players do on a regular basis.
There's nothing
They just don't.
new about this phenomena that there's only 5 servers, yet we have people playing from all over the world. There's going to be people that have to suffer through some shitty internet connections. And there's all this talk of how the lagger has the advantage with a shitty connection. And that's way too broad of a statement to say.
It depends how you play with it.
Because they also have a massive disadvantage to it. The advantage is always to the peaker. So if they turn the corner on you, yes, they have a bigger advantage because they have more shots on you before you can feel them. But the same exact advantage goes to you if you turn the corner on them. You can have them dead before they feel the first one.
That's true.
So this notion that the lag advantage goes one way is completely false. But obviously, on a good player who's usually the aggressor, who knows how to peek,
But that's not what we're talking about here.
or turn the corner before the other person, yes, there is a net benefit to them from the lag.
And I think you know that's not what people are talking about.
Anyways, so we've gone from just a question of should this be allowed. It's a dumb question because we all know no one wants it, but that question begs a binary answer.
But now you're in a video defending it, what these specific people do in the game to 30,000 subs.
Yeah, just Daybreak can flip a button and the right people are going to get banned, let alone that if you banned everyone that has more than 100 millisecond ping, the game would be dead immediately.
That says there's a problem with your game.
No, the reality is it's much, much more difficult than that. But as this conversation festers, the conspiracies start forming. Actually, cheating is a real problem in PlanetSide. There are people using net limiting to their advantage. Oftentimes you do not even notice. The game just relies on BattleEye, the blacklist net limiting programs, which it does. Which anyone can just recompile into a new program. It's the anyone that gets me, just like most of the population out here is out there looking for some sort of program and anyone's going to go do it. No, there are a few very rare bad actors that do this. And there are absolutely people out there that are using net.
Yeah, and you're literally defending one of them.
But it is extremely few and far between. When you see someone out there that's got some weird warpy connection, 99 times out of 100, no, 999 times out of 1,000, it's just someone with a bad connection.
Yeah, but as I said before, just someone with a bad connection and someone manipulating their connection to do shit in the game, they're two very different looking things in game.
There is no greater conspiracy. This is not a rampant or a problem that has plagued planets.
I think you're kind of overlooking how pathetic so many of the players in this game are.
Side two. And it's all more obvious when the example everyone's talking around is someone that's clearly not net limiting and just
Okay, so you're making the statement that he's not, so prove it.
happens to have a bad connection. If the
No, he just has a bad
person
connection.
that everyone's certain is doing it is innocent, then you got to assume more of the people that you're unsure about are probably innocent as well. And you have a comment saying users will not attempt to interfere with, hack into, or decipher any transmission to or from the servers running PlanetSide 2. Again, alluding and suggesting that the player has somehow intentionally modified their network traffic to cause this to happen, which is inaccurate. So while it
Is it? How do you know?
is absolutely cheating to use a lag switch, there's nothing in
Okay, not talking about just a lag switch.
videos to suggest they're lag switching, just that they don't have a great connection. And after playing on Connery with this player for a very long time, I can
Yeah, he's your friend, and that's why you made the video.
tell you just from firsthand experience dueling them,
And just because you played with someone for a long time doesn't mean anything. Like, I played with a lot of players who would be considered by a lot of people cheaters. And to this day, if you asked me straight up, if there was any real way for me to know if they were cheating or not, there would be no real way for me to say that no one in that outfit was cheating. There would really be no real way for me to say that. Now, I'm friends with them and I played with them for a long time, but realistically, if I'm trying to be honest, if I have a gun to my head and I have to be honest, I don't fucking know. There's no way for me to know. Just by playing with them, that's not enough. I'll never know.
that it's not a person using a lag switch.
You don't know, and stop substituting lag
Now,
switch
since
for everything
most
else.
of the examples I saw in the video were just very normal PlanetSide extrapolation.
No, I've seen a lot of these clips, and people with high ping on average don't do these things.
to a high ping player, I want to break down one of my own videos that is PlanetSide 2 extrapolation to what I think is really a low ping player, an average ping player. As always, got to start showing.
I bet this clip looks nothing like some of the shit that we've seen from these people that he's talking
My
about.
connection is normal and stable. Server latency is running a little bit higher than usual, but it's under a little heavier load right now. Please excuse the very weird looking weapon. For a while there was a bug with motion blur that made weapons look very funky when combined with certain settings. So after I get forced off the roof, I'm expecting one or more of them to come after me. So I decide not to risk the reload attempt, and there he goes, the good old floor medic.
That happens. That right there, where the guy drops through the floor from a, that can happen to literally anyone, and it's not even remotely. That's not what anyone's talking about. And I'm pretty sure that that probably didn't happen in any of the clips that were linked. That can happen to anyone. That's a normal engine fucking thing.
Popping up. Now this happens a lot, and I know it's going to happen because of extrapolation.
Yep.
When someone's coming off a roof, they're
Exactly.
traveling at a higher velocity, which means they're going to get extrapolated further into the ground. The same thing happens with someone going from a strafe.
That
to
happens. But that's not at all what is put in those clips in those threads.
Sprint. As they accelerate from the sprint, extrapolation is going to make them go even faster than a maximum sprint speed.
Not it,
So guys,
bro.
when you see someone running in the distance and then they all of a sudden stop and I'm gonna call it rubber band, but you don't actually see them rubber band in this game. They just pop back to an old position.
That's probably the worst example of it. You should. I hope maybe at some point he looks at some of the clips that are in these threads that are linked, because it won't be like that.
That's because the server was extrapolating them forward, and then when it finally got a packet update, it had to correct their position.
Okay, so then address the videos and the clips,
which was maybe 3, maybe 4,
that are
maybe
actually
5
used
meters behind where they had extrapolated.
and then explain those away.
I understand it's not fun to play against, and it's worth continued conversation with Daybreak Games where the correct thresholds are for ping. And newsflash, we're going to start seeing a lot more of this because Connery is dead. It used to kind of act as a good central server for the world for people that didn't live close to one of the servers, tended to have better ping than Emerald did. But Connery's dead now. Between losing half its population due to Soltech and players generally migrating to Emerald because there's just better population there.
Yeah, and they don't have to always play against fucking laggy shitters all the time who, some groups of them just manipulate their shit.
It's really not a viable option to play on anymore.
And because your server is full of a bunch of cancer tumors that have played the same way since WDS ended.
So Emerald will start seeing more and more of these elusive floor medics popping up. So guys,
like, nice job. Does he link the Reddit thread? Because I'm sure some of the clips in there don't even look like. No, we're not gonna link the Reddit thread here. The individual Reddit. No, we're not. We're not gonna link that. Okay, of course, because then your 30,000 subs would be able to go in and look at those and see how they're not at all even remotely related to what you're talking about. So nice cringe cope video. Yeah, but anyway, that's it for me.